What's up, everybody, and welcome to a surprising second show here in the week for the Hot Mic. Yeah, we teased that we'd be doing a second show, but today, certainly because of what happened, this article in Rolling Stone with James Gunn, we decided to jump on and do a soft opening of a second show, which we'll be doing consistently starting in July. But we had to talk about this. Let's introduce ourselves. I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Hot Mic, joined as always by the Sneider himself, Jeff Sneider. How are you, Jeff?
Hello, Johnny boy. What's up, dude?
What's up, brother, man? You're on the East Coast right now, so thank you for taking the time, Jeff. I know you're with your family. But as you said, let's not waste any time. Let's jump into it. Quite an article here in Rolling Stone with some beautiful, tasteful photographs of James Gunn, who was the focus of this article written by Brian Hyatt with photographs by Devin Oktar-Yalkin. And within this article, Jeff, a lot of comments about Superman and the inspirations and what motivated him to do it. And also a lot of comments about Wonder Woman and the Batman as well, and his approach to DC, and even some possible slight shots at Marvel as to how things went down with Marvel, and ends it all with a commentary about how he wants to be remembered. This is a very incisive interview into the machinations of James Gunn's brain. But what do you take away from this interview overall before we jump into the specifics? What stood out to you? What appealed to you? What did you think of this?
I mean, I know you wanted to get into it and you were all excited, and I'm here to get down your enthusiasm, but I gotta say, it was kind of a nothing burger for me. It was mealy-mouthed, wishy-washy quotes.
Wow.
I
Well,
mean,
explain that. What do you mean by mealy mouth? Do you think that some of the stuff he was saying here are just fitting certain narratives that he wants to be out there, and not all of it is the truth?
it's beating. It was a bunch of beating around the bush. It's a bunch of, well, I'm writing a not necessarily sequel to Superman. We've got writers on Batman and Wonder Woman. Okay, well, who are they?
Right.
He's basically a co-writer on all of these movies, which I
Yes.
think serves them very well.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the hazards of having a creative run a studio without any real creative oversight.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's an excellent point you bring up here. But I mean, he gets us to deal with the Batman stuff. We'll look at these quotes and see, look, take a look on the screen. And Batman's the biggest issue in all of DC right now. Personally, I'm not writing Batman, but I'm working with the writer of Batman, who we have no idea who it is, Jeff just mentioned, and trying to get it right because he's incredibly important to DC as his Wonder Woman. So outside of that stuff that I'm doing, the projects that are actively going, our two priorities are finishing our Wonder Woman and our Batman scripts. Is the Batman script, is that still called Brave and the Bold right now? Yeah, right now. What needs to be figured out to make those two priorities work? Batman in this universe. Batman has to have a reason for existing, so Batman can't just be, oh, we're making a Batman movie because the Batman's the biggest character in WB, but because there's a need for him in the DCU, and need that he's not exactly the same as Matt's Batman, but yet he's not a campy Batman. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in a funny campy Batman, really. So we're dealing with that. I think I have a way in, by the way. I think I really know what it's. I just am dealing with the writer to make sure we can make it a reality. Jeff, there's a lot of, yeah, as you said, beating on other words, talking around it, not really announcing it, not really saying anything. So what does this all mean? Is he hedging all his bets just in case whatever it turns out, it was like this was the plan all?
You don't sound great over there, Roka. Is everything okay with your mic?
No, am I? Is there an issue going on with my mic?
Oh,
Sorry about that.
You sound like far away.
Oh, that's not good.
Is that what other people are saying?
No, no one's been saying anything because we're not live, buddy. So I don't know.
I have no idea. All right. Well, you don't sound great, but you know what? I'm
Sorry.
cool with it. We're gonna do what we can.
Okay.
Yes. Again, like, yeah, it's called Brave and the Bold for now. For now,
Right.
okay. Well, is if it's changing, like, why not just say that? Why not just call it the Untitled Batman movie? I just he's still playing the Matt Reeves' slow game too, right? Matt, slow, get off his back. I mean, I don't know what else you're supposed to say given the situation. He's giving Reeves cover, but that's not entirely true.
Right. Here's the thing you represent. I do want to talk about this. I really should clear this up. Is there still a non-zero chance that Matt Reeves' Batman will get sucked into your universe? Long pause. I would never say zero because you just never know, but it's not likely. It's not likely at all. I'll also say Batman Part 2 is not canceled. That's the other thing I hear all the time, that Batman Part 2 is canceled. It's not canceled. We don't have a script. Matt's slow. Let him take his time. Let him do what he's doing. What people are mean. Let him do his thing, man. What what is that? Like people are mean.
I agree with him. Like, let him do his thing. Like, everybody get off his case, but let's not like pretend that Matt Reeves is some sort of slowpoke writer. He's been dealing with a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
And I understand why, James Gunn doesn't want to publicize that. It's no one's business to publicize that, but it just also is like a little disingenuous, frankly.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, again, I just
But can you go into that? Why do you think it's disingenuous? Be a little more specific. Can you say
what do you mean? Well,
because he knows, right?
yeah, we all know. It's a secret from the public. It's not a secret
Right.
from anyone who's an insider. So
Right.
yes, it's disingenuous.
Yeah, when he says people are mean, I mean, that's a cover in a way or a bit of righteousness there because people are, yes, people might be being mean, but it's because there's a vacuum of information and you're not giving us the information and you're saying that it's Matt is a slow writer, but that may not be true at all. There's other things going on, as you said, Jeff, that some of us don't know about, or you guys, some of you insiders know about. But so there's a vacuum of information. And in that vacuum, people are going to fill it. So to me, this is an interesting situation. It's not canceled. It's not canceled.
It's who's saying that it was canceled?
Right.
Who
I don't recall anybody saying it's
did
canceled.
that? That's the thing when you're terminally online listening to every bozo with a fucking microphone, then you come up with lines like that. No one said it was canceled. No one I know. No one I pay attention to. Maybe
Right.
Chris helped said it.
Yeah, we said it. We've said it might not happen, or that Matt Reeves might not be directing it, but we never said it was canceled, outright canceled. Yeah,
I'm saying it's a lot easier to write a movie
yeah.
or produce a movie when you don't really need to be on set for that movie.
Mm,
It's a lot harder to direct a movie
good
when you're
point.
not on the set of that movie.
What do you think about him being so? How can I say this? Secretive about the Batman writer. Do you think there is a Batman writer, or do you think he is writing it? And he's
You
saying,
don't want him to
"I've
have
been
too
working."
much pressure because I mean, God, he's sitting at home writing the Batman movie, pressure free, laid back. But if the internet were to suddenly know that he's at home writing that Batman movie, then all the pressure is on, and he wouldn't get it more. Um, I don't know why. I mean, I assume it's because I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I could offer theories, but who cares what my
I can't. I want people who listen to the show want your theories. What are your theories on why you think who might be writing that? You think it's him, don't you?
I think he's talking about himself. And I
Yeah.
don't I don't think that there are others. So
Yeah,
that's what I think.
to go on what you said, this is what he said. Do you know what you're writing and directing next as far as film? Yeah, probably. I know what I'm writing right now. And it's a DC film? Yeah, nothing yet. I'm just getting into it. I really have a hard time writing when I'm in the late stage of production, which we're almost done, but I really have a hard time. I just started write treatments first, started to complete. So he is working on the next DC project. A lot of people have speculated it's World's Finest, but it could very well be Batman, but Batman introduced through World's Finest. And so when he says he's working with a Batman writer, he's talking about working with himself. And that,
I don't need. I just don't.
yeah,
What I'm a couple of treatments in, a couple of treatments on one movie,
yeah,
on multiple movies. Are you doing the treatments for all the movies?
right.
I just I don't love any of this. Uh,
Pattinson. You once with Robert Pattinson, he said you once said that the fact that Robert Pattinson's Batman is not in this universe was Matt Reeves' choice. Does that mean if it were up to you, you would have just pulled that into your universe? And he says it will be a consideration. We'd have to think about it. We'd have to think about it. It's not like we've never
wh-
discussed it, which is what
why
he
are
said.
you doing this interview, James Gunn? Why, if this is how we're going to answer the questions with maybes and possiblies, and we've talked about it, but you never know, never say never. I mean, this is just like full of general empty platitudes.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's not real answers, concrete answers, and it's because
As he's being interviewed by someone, a Rolling Stone reporter, who,
yeah,
God bless Rolling Stone, is no more an insider than my neighbor across the street doing things.
yeah,
This Rolling Stone reporter has no insight into anything, I'm sure. They just got the interview assignment with James Gunn because they're Rolling Stone.
right,
Put me on the phone with James Gunn.
yeah, right.
We'll see, we'll see if I let him off the hook, and that's how he decides to answer questions.
I would love for you to interview James Gunn. Then we
I'll
could pin down some things.
interview with James Gunn because James Gunn has his preferred list of outlets, and that includes fucking Rolling Stone. It's not like he talked to the trades,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He went to the one outlet in the Penske portfolio where there really aren't insiders as far as Hollywood goes. Rolling
That's true.
Stone, all due respect.
That's true. Because they're going to be much more incisive about music or even politics than they will necessarily about DC and all
I
of
don't
that
find
stuff.
Rolling Stone incisive about much of anything these days. Other than Cheyenne Roundtree's a good reporter who has her finger on the pulse of like Me Too, the Me Too
Yeah.
movement.
Right. Right. Well, when it comes to Superman, obviously the majority of the interview is talking about Superman, the influences of Superman, and all of that. And this is what he says about Superman here. One of your biggest innovations is the sci-fi Silver Age Superman. Yeah, I think that's the biggest totally novel thing about this film, and it really is based on that all-star Superman from the 2000s. And taking that tone into a cinematic realm was not the usual thing for a superhero movie or for any movie. So I really was thinking a lot when making the film about graphic novels than movies. And then he says, this is really interesting when he talks about the idea. Oh, sorry, the Superman. Here we go. Fantastic Four is coming around the same time as Superman. It seems to share that Silver Age optimistic feel. It's interesting, giving weird vibes in the world right now. That seems to be the right vibe. And this feels like he's bristling a little bit at the comparison, Jeff, because he answers,
Of
maybe,
course he is. Of course he's bristling. Why shouldn't he bristle? Because
yeah,
like it seems it's like, oh, this movie comes out 2 weeks after mine, and it's a comic book movie. It's Marvel and we're DC, and so there's the comparisons are inevitable. But like he's like, yeah, this movie was created in a vacuum, and their movie was created in a vacuum. Why are there comparisons? I understand the frustration in that, but like, welcome to being a movie fan in 2025, dude.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is what I found fascinating about the interview. I think there's a lot here. Like, if you're a creative person or creative and you're coming up, there's a lot to kind of navigate with James Gunn's approach and how he's changed and how he looks at things. But throughout it all, there are these periods of moments where he's showing you the ego underneath everything. And he flat out says, I had an ego during trauma and I wasn't getting credited for the work. I feel like I wasn't appreciated for the work I was doing. Where have I heard that more recently? And you saw that kind of situation going on for him. So he changed and he adjusted. And there's a lot here. But as I said, the ego stuff pops through. Him bristling at a comparison between a Fantastic Four and Superman. Him saying, Marvel got messed up by everybody else and people were, and then he essentially implies that there were some lazy Marvel directors who were working at the same time he was. And then at the end, he ends with some anecdote about a friend of his who was an asshole and died. And people had conversations about him at that funeral. How do you want to be remembered? So there are these little moments where he's taking shots, who come these veiled shots. And so it's an interesting capture of James Gunn's mind. Am I off on this?
I think, like everyone else on the internet, you're reading way too much into stuff. Everyone has an ego in Hollywood. You think Tom Cruise? You think Tom Cruise is feeling appreciated after his movie could barely get to 600 million? You know,
Might not even get to 600 million. Yeah.
yeah. I don't. I think everyone in Hollywood feels underappreciated, even if they just won an Academy Award the night before.
That's a fair point.
I just, I think that in general,
Yeah.
the marketing,
Oh, yeah.
the message that has been sent with the marketing is all off.
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
talk about that because someone asked me about that earlier
all
today.
about all about James Gunn.
Yes.
Who the
Yes.
who the fuck is David Cornsweet? I don't know who the fuck he is. I have no idea who is Superman and Superman, and that's because they've been marketing the movie with James Gunn. I don't know if that's a James Gunn decision. I don't know if that's a Warner Brothers decision.
Uh,
Whoever's decision it is, I'm not there to see the James Gunn show, and
right.
that's what he thinks. I think that's what he thinks that we are there for.
Jeff, you don't take pictures like this and not think that you're coming for the James Gunn show, right? It should, yeah,
I don't know if it's like the Snyder of it all. Like it would be, because those movies just became about Zack Snyder, Zack Snyder, Zack Snyder.
yeah.
This is an attempt to, I don't know, like overwrite him or something. But yeah, it's like I want to hear about the main trio. They should be on the cover of Rolling Stone, not James Gunn.
I agree with you 100%. We need to get to know David Cornsweet more. We need to get to know Brosnahan. We need to get to know Nicholas Holt more. And so, in their interactions and their experience making the movie, but James is clearly thinks he's the one selling. You don't see Feige doing crap like this. It just doesn't. It just doesn't happen. So To me, although I thought it was an interesting interview and get to know his mind a little more, maybe I am reading things into it. But I also think, by the same token, you can't help but deny that the ego of him is so strong in all of this. And him admitting that his ego was there even when he was working for Trump. He's clearly had it. Probably even being in Rolling Stone is an ego thing for being profiled instead of David Corn Sweat. And maybe they think selling James Gunn is the easiest way to get people in seats because they don't know David Corn Sweat. Well, you solve that problem by putting David Corn Sweat more out there. So it's just an interesting situation the way they're looking
I mean,
at it.
again, the ego has been on full display basically since he took control of the studio.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, instead of like looking at the people who helped him get to this position, almost the people who showed up to Slither and Super and all this stuff,
yeah,
those journalists. Now he's catering to the fanboy press,
yeah,
and I just like the fact that I had to fight my way into that DC press day, where I
yeah.
wiped the floor with the other journalists in the room. I thought, uh, they clearly have a very specific agenda and plan for this. Not a part of it. A lot of other intelligent journalists are not a part of it,
Yeah,
and they're selling it to the lowest common denominator, basically,
yeah. It's a fair point.
surrounding himself with sycophants.
It feels that way a little bit. And the thing is, you're not going to get to the answers of anything until you have a sit down with someone who's really going to ask the tough questions and hold your feet to the fire. And he refuses to do that, which I find interesting. When it comes to Marvel, this is what I was mentioning. Over at Marvel, they've been pretty open about the fact that they realize what's gone wrong over the past few years. They put out too much stuff. That's what the interviewer asks. And Gunn responds, and longtime Marvel executive producer Louis D'Esposito said that privately to me. I don't know if it's really their fault. They were under a corporate mandate. Yeah, that wasn't fair, wasn't right, and it killed them. And watching that, he's asked, watching that, especially after being involved, are there lessons to be taken here? And there's no doubt we have to treat every project as if we're lucky. We don't have the mandate to have a certain amount of movies and TV shows every year. So we're going to put out everything that we think is the highest quality. Jeff, is this true? I thought just a few weeks ago they said they were going to try to pump out 7 projects a year. So then they seem to do have a mandate, or they're working towards a mandate. So is this again a little bit of the goalpost moving that we've been seeing since that
There's
opening
Yes,
press up 3
there's
years ago?
always a mandate, and the mandate always serves whatever he's up to in the moment. If they're struggling to get something off the ground, then that the mandate is not to it's quality over quantity.
Right.
If everything's going great, I mean, and it seems like he's been on social media actively again.
Yes.
He has these mood pockets
Yeah.
where he gets excited and goes on social media, and then he deals with the fans and deals with the haters, and then he shuts up again for another couple of weeks.
Well, he did it again in this interview, going after the social media aspect of it all, talking about how he has an actor on the set who reads everything and is stressed out about everything. And he's told them that it's a good thing to occasionally have an opposing force, to not read everything and, all this kind of stuff. So he took his moment to go after some of the people who've made videos and commentary. But when it comes to stuff with Zack Snyder, he addressed it too, Jeff. He said, with this movie, the reporter says, with this movie, you have people actively rooting against you because they're fans of a previous incarnation of Superman in DC. Zack Snyder's DC. Gunn fake surprise delivers a fake surprise what, and then it's amazing. I'm trying to think. Gunn says, "I'm trying to think of how to say it's best. I don't mind it. I think it's good. I think you don't want to have everybody root for you, but I have an actor who reads everything online. I won't say who it is, but he'll read this article and he'll know who it is. It's one of the top 5 in Superman, and this actor gets so upset over what people say." And then he goes on to talk more about the fact that the 8 people who want the Zack Snyder version of it back, or the Robert Pattinson part of it, that want him to be a part of the DCU situation. He addresses all of it, but he walks through the minefield delicately for sure.
Um, the Snyder people are lunatics.
Some of them, okay, yes.
No, I'll do the whole blanket. I'm a Snyderist. These people are lunatics. And anyone who's thinking of like review bombing this movie,
Oh yeah,
or what were some of the other steps? Reserving seats online,
yes,
right?
not showing up. Yeah,
But not paying for them, but just making it difficult for other people to reserve those seats. I mean, these are the plans of cinematic terrorists, essentially.
yeah.
James Gunn should not negotiate with terrorists.
Fair
I
point.
think
Yeah,
that the Robert Pattinson of it all has. I don't think it has anything to do with, oh, I loved Robert Pattinson and he should be Batman. I don't think it has anything to do with that. It's about marketing. It's
Yeah.
about, why would you have two Batman running around at the same time? This makes no sense.
Yeah.
Okay, it has nothing to do with, I want Robert Pattinson and he's my Batman. I could give a fuck if I never see Robert Pattinson as Batman again. But if we are going to see him again,
Yeah.
then I don't need to see another Batman. I don't need to see 2, 3, 4 fucking live action Batmans. And this one's in this corner and this one's in this corner, but this is Elseworlds and this is that. It is confusing for the fucking audience. Do you understand that, James? Do I need to spell that out for you? And that it is going to end badly. So make a decision.
It seems like yeah, he's got to be making a decision very soon. And as we said, we're waiting on. What do you think about his comments about how people have hung a lot of stuff on Superman and how it does? And he tries to downplay it by saying, like, well, I'm just a small piece of the puzzle of the overall W. I just want to make my money back. Like, that seems a little bit like fake humility because, of course, he doesn't just want to make his money back, Jeff. He wants this to elevate him to the next level of power in Hollywood. As he said, he
He's
hasn't
already the most. He's arguably the most powerful. I mean,
not more than Feige.
okay, not more than Feige, maybe.
Or Kathleen Kennedy. I think he's not as powerful as those two.
Well, I don't even like think of them as doing the same thing. You're
Well,
directors, right?
oh, director. Well, no, because he's running the studio.
Right,
He's
exactly.
not just a
You
director.
know, he has almost more power than Chris Nolan does.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
So I don't know what he's complaining about. Superman's going to be fine. Superman's going to perform. It's not going to matter if these people review bomb it. It's not going to matter. None of this is going to matter. It's probably going to wind up being the most successful Superman movie.
Oh, money wise, yeah.
Yes, money wise. Now, you know, who knows with inflation and what all that shit
Right.
means. Mhm. You know, that also said, the marketing is like through the roof. Like,
Yeah.
it may be the most ever spent on marketing a movie.
Yeah.
So he's the beneficiary of that, but he also, you know, for every dollar that they spend, he's got to make $2 at the box office to make it back.
Right.
So he's increasing the degree of difficulty, but you know, they're obviously going to buy the opening to the extent that they can or have to. Like, they're not going to like just, you know, let this movie fall on its face and not market it.
Right. Right. Exactly. The other, oh yeah, this is what Jeff was referencing. This is what some of the Snyder Bros have put out there. They want to stand up and fight for the Snyderverse, post spoilers everywhere, leave bad writing on review sites, reserve tickets online, but don't complete the purchase. And Gunn responded to saying, "LOL, I think we'll survive. I'm sure the 8 people that listen to that guy, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess it's a guy, are going to impact the course of events."
Does James Gunn hate men? I mean, you know, I don't understand. Why is it? Why are you assuming it's a guy, James? Is Grace Randolph a woman? Is My Time to Shine supposedly a woman?
Yeah, yeah, right.
And doing their part to spread misinformation or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are plenty of women among the Snyder Bros.
sure.
So, you know, James Gunn, I don't necessarily appreciate the fact that he's assuming that it's some man. But I love, you know, if there are like 8 people who listen to that guy, and I assume it's a guy.
Yeah.
Well, geez, James Gunn, way to punch down, my man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Like, go after the guy.
Thing right, because every time he opens his mouth, it's just like laced with contempt. So just shut up and get off social media and let your movie speak for you.
Yeah.
Or you can keep giving interviews to Rolling Stone that inspire Hot Mike special episodes.
What about his thoughts about Wonder Woman? He said, "How about one?" He was asked, "How about for Wonder Woman?" Similar. Wonder Woman, I think, is actually easier for me because
For me?
that
For me,
is-
or for the person writing it? Who's writing it?
yeah, exactly. Definitely not movies, but really anywhere that there have been a Batman. Every single Batman story has been told. It seems like half the comics that have come out of DC over the past 30
And
years.
every single Batman story has been told. Let's make 2 Batman movies.
So yeah, it doesn't offer much in terms of Wonder Woman, other than to say, like, yeah, I think it's easier for me because I've been at so many portrayals of Wonder Woman. So he kind of hedging his bets a little bit, but he also talks.
This whole fucking interview should have been headline "Hedging Your Bets," a Q&A with James Gunn. So is it true that Supergirl has also been retitled and they dropped the Woman of Tomorrow?
Yes, it's now just Supergirl. Yes, he
Oh,
says
that's
this in an interview as well.
amazing.
Yeah. He says we're always changing things. We're always changing things. Well, why do press conferences if you're always changing things?
We're always changing things. That's why yeah, exactly. That's why we wasted everyone's time and brought him up to Burbank to announce a bunch of movies that we aren't going to make and have no intention to ever make, and because we're always changing things.
Yeah. And then this part
I'm
with
trying to be an asshole here, but it's just like you just make it so easy for me, James Gunn. Like, dude, let me be your press person. I will advise you on what to say, what not to say, and who to say it to.
I love that you think
What is going on over there?
again, I love that you think you can control it. There's no press person who
Well,
can
no,
control it.
I am aware of that. He is uncontrolled because he has some of the finest people
Yes.
attempting to put the golden lasso on him.
I would love to see them one day, like somebody do a tell all about what it was like working.
I just never seen a guy who like was so cool become so uncool so quickly.
This is at times the things that happen when you go corporate, Jeff. You know this. When you go
Yeah.
corporate, you sell out to a degree, and then you have to toe the company line. And all of a sudden, these people who were rebels become part of the establishment and then get mad at the young rebels who are coming in because they don't want to be seen as the establishment, even though they are. They want to be both. And you can't be both. You can't be the rebel and the establishment. That's not how it works.
Dude, I really was rooting for James Gunn when he signed up for all of this. I was very complimentary. I thought,
Yeah.
everyone's in good hands, and just with every passing day, it's just like I am so sick of this guy. Just stop.
All right. This is the thing he's referencing here. Do you think this is Sergeant Rock when he says one of the biggest rules you've made for DC is that they have to have finished scripts? He says, yeah, we just killed the project. Everybody wanted to make the movie. It was greenlit, ready to go. The screenplay wasn't ready, and I couldn't do a movie where the screenplay's not good. And we've been really lucky so far.
How did it get greenlit? If it was greenlit, ready to, so this makes no sense. It was greenlit, ready to go, but the script wasn't ready. It wasn't good. Well, then how did it get greenlit, my guy? And who greenlit it? Didn't you greenlight it? I'm telling you, his PR is abysmal.
Yeah.
Because I can poke through everything like fucking Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's why I wanted to do this episode, because I want to expose or take a look at this interview and give it its props, because I think a lot of what he said about Superman was really cool and his approach and all of that. But also some of the thornier issues, he is giving some mealy mouthed Swiss cheese type of answers. And it's frustrating because it's insulting at times to people who know better or know more about what's going on in the situation. And also the Clayface thing. How can you rave about how great the Clayface script is when you're having almost a page one rewrite happening of that script as well? So there's holes to poke in that idea as well. So I know he's learning on the job, bro, but this feels like, he's a guy who doesn't want to be questioned.
And that's what you want. You want a head of DC Studios who's learning on the job, as opposed to a producer or studio head who's been doing this for a long, long time.
Yeah. Where's Peter Safford in all this? How come he's not doing it?
Where to be found? Has he even been mentioned in a single one of these quotes that you've said?
No, not one. Only at the beginning.
I've not even seen the name Peter.
Yeah, only at the beginning do they say, but no, he's talking about it.
It's a sham marriage. This is a green card marriage.
Yeah, so it's a fascinating. I think that's everything that I wanted to discuss. Is there anything that stood out to you in the article that we didn't touch upon that you want to make sure we stress?
I didn't even read the article. It was no, it's behind a paywall on Rolling Stone.
Okay.
Jay Pensky for a second-rate interview. I've seen the screenshots. Around. I may have read it. But yeah, I just Rolling Stone is. They're just part of the marketing machine. It's not like an interview in Premiere magazine back in the day. It's not an interview with the trades, who I would assume go a little bit harder than this, although I'm sure we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure there's going to be just a flood of fucking interviews like this. And
I'd love him to do something outside the Penske media channel. Can you be interviewed by somebody?
By Stoops.
Yes, Stoops. Tell me. No, I don't want that.
he'll he'll be interviewed by fucking Vogue or by the Chicken Shop Lady or Hot Ones. Like,
Yeah,
come on, man.
right. Why won't you be interviewed by somebody who's really gonna like
Because he has a movie to sell. Because he has a movie to sell. He's not here to
I
get
guess so.
put on the hot seat and find out what Jeff Snyder's going to ask him. He is here to sell a movie, and so let's just all be conscious of that. That is what the purpose of these interviews are.
Well, it's fascinating because the interview is very much about him saying how he's grown and now he doesn't have to tap dance for the public anymore and that he's changed who he is, but he's essentially tap dancing for the corporation here, and he's essentially tap dancing for the mainstream approach to it all instead of necessarily doing something that is rebellious. And please don't give me Silver Age is rebellious. That's not rebellious. Just because we haven't seen it before doesn't make it rebellious. You know, there's
No one knows what it means. No one knows what Silver Age means. What's the difference between the Golden Age
yeah.
and the Silver?
Most people outside of the comic book world do not know what a Silver Age comic book is supposed to imply or infer. For sure, I agree with you on that. Um, as well.
We would be focusing on the Golden Age. It just the whole thing is bizarre to me.
Okay. Anything more you want to say on this? Like, well, how's this? How we wrap up by saying this on this section? Do you come away from this article? I know this answer, I feel like, but do you come away from this article more confident or less confident that the right guy is in charge of DC?
Less confident.
Wow. Okay. All right. I come away feeling a little shaky about it. And I'm not sure what the end result's going to be.
We're talking about a guy who's a filmmaker, not a studio head.
Yeah. And you can tell from his answers.
Clear. Yeah, like I'd love to have your talent, James Gunn, and be able to direct movies like you do. Like I just never understood this. Why not just focus on
Yeah.
what you do and do well?
There we go. There we go. Jeff, there's box office talk. Do you want to move into that, or are you good for the show? Are you done with it? I mean, we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants a little bit. Do you want to talk anything about the box office? The shocking numbers for How to Train Your Dragon, Materialist doing 15 million globally. Anything stood out to you about the box office? Tom Cruise, the Final Reckoning, just finally crossing $500 million. What are your thoughts on anything in the box office?
Mission Impossible is going to lose untold tens of hundreds, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay.
Wow.
That's a movie that was greenlit, 7 years ago, and everyone was excited about Maverick, and it's just not, didn't perform anything like that. And the movie wasn't very good, which led to bad word of mouth, which probably cost it millions more. Materialist, a good opening for A24.
Yeah, third highest opening, I think, in their history. So not too bad.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you have movie stars. 12 million, I think it opened to domestically, which is a nice number, and certainly up from the tracking, which was at 8, pointed to 8 or 9. Again, I think that's the star power. The reviews have been pretty mixed. It seemed like it also seemed like a bait and switch in terms of what the marketing was and what the actual movie was. And some people were probably pleasantly surprised, and other people were probably disappointed. How to Train Your Dragon, a good but not like remarkable opening or anything. But it to have. I mean, we'll see what its legs are once Elio opens this weekend.
Yeah. The other thing was Mike Flanagan's Life of Chuck, essentially bombing here, Jeff, $2 million. Like,
is that what happens when you just sell a movie with a bunch of quotes from critics you've never heard of? I mean, like, it wasn't like Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline are raving about the Life of Chuck. It was all like Mike Flanagan's friends.
Yeah.
It was a horrible campaign.
Yeah.
Totally terrible on Neon's part. They're good at selling, long legs or Honora, but they just simply could not sell a movie from like Life of Chuck. It was outside their area of expertise. The movie was terrible. That also makes it difficult to market, especially when it's divided into threes, and it's just disjointed, and your star Tom Hiddleston's only in 25 minutes of the movie, 30 minutes of the movie. He barely says anything. He just dances most of the time. No,
Yeah.
a bad movie that I just cannot believe. It is truly one of the most mind-boggling things of the last 10 years I've seen in Hollywood as far as that film winning the audience award at TIFF. It seems like an impossibility.
People are upset about this movie not doing well. I've been seeing it online. People are like, "You guys want original things," and it comes out, then you don't go see it. But
What's original about that? It's literally a movie about platitudes. We contain multitudes. Let's make a movie. This is like that's what the IP is here. Forget
yeah,
Batman and Superman. The IP here is the quote, we contain multitudes.
yeah, well, Jeff, I do want to ask you about one more thing before we wrap up this impromptu show here for the week. And we will have our regular show this week on Thursday at 9 a.m. because Jeff is on the East Coast. So we're doing it 9 a.m. PT, 12 p.m. ET here on live on the Outlaw Nation. But I do want to ask you about this because this happened right after we finished the show here. But Dakota Johnson had some comments about Hollywood. Of course, she is the star of Materialists right now, but she was appearing on the Hot Ones podcast to promote the movie, and she made it clear that she's had enough of Hollywood's addiction to IP and reshoots. She has. When something does well, studios want to keep that going, so they remake the same things, but humans don't want that. They want fresh. They want to feel new things, experience new things, see new things. So I don't know. I guess it's all just a bit of a mess right now. I think it's hard when creative decisions are made by committee, and it's hard when creative decisions are made by people who don't even really watch movies or know anything about them. And that tends to be what's occurring a lot. So, Jeff, your thoughts on her comments here? Considering she made her bones on a 50 Shades of Grey franchise. Yes, she took a bath in Madam Web, and she's done independent films, Peanut Butter Falcon materials, what have you. But like, is this criticism making any kind of sense from someone in her position?
I mean, it's a totally fair criticism.
Hmm.
I think she's right that there are a lot of people at studios who don't read, they don't write. Sorry, they don't read, they don't watch movies.
Yeah.
They certainly don't see a movie with a regular audience. Going to the
Well,
Grove,
most of the time.
going to the Grove or Century City and seeing a movie with a bunch of Angelinos, 75% of whom work in the industry.
Yeah.
That is not keeping your finger on the pulse. I think they've totally lost any conception of what the public is willing to pay for as a movie. Uh, uh, then again, I look at some of the stuff that she's produced, and I'm not very impressed either. With Tea
Yeah.
Time, her production company. Like, what was that movie? Am I okay?
Oh God. Yeah. Like two people saw that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, noble idea. Let's make a movie about what was it, autism or? I mean, no interest. No, I'm not interested in like these abortion movies or. I mean, it's just like that's not what people are going to the movies for anymore.
Yeah. What was the other one? Daddy-O, the one with Sean Penn.
Patio was horrible.
Yeah. 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 That's the thing. That's why I asked you the question because I don't listen. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I don't see Dakota Johnson being this amazing paragon of virtue in Hollywood, like with numerous amounts of successes to her name on her resume. And so it seems like an odd thing to say. Oh, Hollywood's a mess. And she may be right, as you said. She may be right, but like you're also a person who made your bones in a franchise. You would not, if Hollywood wasn't addicted to franchise, you might not be a household name.
So she takes a paycheck and she's not allowed to say anything.
I'm not saying she's not allowed to say it. I'm saying there's a sense of like, well, how strong of a leg do you have to stand on when the only reason you're a household name is because of a franchise and Hollywood's addiction to creating franchises and IP? It seems a bit hypocritical, is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, for millions of dollars, I don't think she minds being hypocritical. She's going to be honest at the state of the movie business is terrible. But if they wave a big fat check in front of her, and say, "Here's the shitty Madam Web script in one hand, and here's a check for $5 million in the other," she's going to reach out with both hands.
Well, that's the problem. Don't if you're going to cry about Hollywood, don't work in the big studio productions. Then don't do any more of them. If you're going to complain about it, you can't cry about it, then take the money. That don't make no fucking sense. Those
Makes sense. Like everyone wants to have both. I want to be able to say that these movies are bad and tell the truth and be honest, but I'm not going to turn down money. I'm not a moron.
Well, yeah, okay, that's all right. But again, you can't be the rebel in the establishment. You can't be both, and that's in essence. You can't take the money from the establishment and then cry about the establishment.
I'm just trying to explain. basic human behavior. Like that everyone does.
No, not everyone does that, Jeff. There are moral, principled people in the world.
No, there aren't. No, I'm sorry. If you're sitting there saying, man, 50 Shades of Grey 1 and 2 were terrible movies, and you get offered a role in 50 Shades of Grey 3, you think you're going to refer focus features to what you said about the first two and pass?
Me?
No. Me, you, any of us, any of these. Yeah. If they offered me a role in 50 Shades of Grey 3, I would have taken it.
Yeah, okay. That's you. I don't know if
You wouldn't have? You wouldn't take it?
I think it would all depend on what the script is and how much money they're offering, right?
That's
And
John, you're telling me you're a John Rocha, the movie blogger. You get offered tomorrow out of the blue.
Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey 3, you're going to play a supporting role. You're actually going to say, and it's going to be $500,000 for 2 weeks or what?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm not a 20-year-old.
I need to see a script.
Yeah. Because I'm not a 20-year-old who's desperate to make it and be seen in Hollywood and be seen. Jeff, would I be doing this fucking show if I was caught up in that? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. You don't see auditioning. I don't do that stuff.
Listen, hey, I'm not going to call you a liar, but like,
I'm just telling you the truth.
We'll see. But I'm going to send you some horrible student film script and a check for $500,000. We'll see if you're on set.
No. That doesn't make any sense. Yes. Why would I do that? Oh my God, no. There's a money isn't everything, Jeff. Money is not everything. Nor does it make you happy. Nor does it put you in a better place in your life. It just brings more drama and more negativity and more pain if you're not yourself in a good position about who you are and about where you are in the world. More money ain't going to solve a goddamn thing.
I'll go work for Variety or Deadline for $500,000 a year.
Oh, yeah, and then you'll bitch about it the whole time and you'll feel terrible.
So what? I'll cry myself to sleep in a bed of money. That's what all these great. That's what I think you would do.
No, you'll get ulcers, you'll get physical ailments, all that stuff that comes from stress, because they're going to tell you what you can and can't talk about. They're going to tell you what opinions you're allowed to say.
I would love to be told what I can and can't talk about for $500,000.
I have worked with you in a corporation where people were saying to you what you can and can't tweet, and you bristled.
And what was I paid there, John?
Well, I mean, that's a whole nother ball.
But there we go. That's the whole point. I was paid $75,000.
You're saying you can be bought. You're
so saying if Mark Hernandez called me into the office and said, Jeff, I'm going to raise your salary 500%, and you're going to go from $75,000 to $500,000, I would shut up pretty fucking quick.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, that's you, right?
You're in the outlaw. You wouldn't do that. You're a man of principle.
I wouldn't. No, after having lived all the years that I've lived, and especially having worked for that person, I would never have taken the money for the exchange.
I admire.
I'm not trying to be principled. It's just that for me, where I'm at, I know where I'm healthiest. And a person who has mental health issues, I know where I'm healthiest. And it is not being told what to do just because I can buy a second TV or another car. I don't like it. I hate it. It drives me insane. I know it eats me from the inside out. So I couldn't do that. But I don't judge you for doing that.
Eat away, please. Yeah,
I know. All right. Well, we should wrap it up there. Is there anything more you want to discuss from the world of Hollywood right now? Shall we save it for this?
Yeah, no, we got to save some stuff for the show on Thursday, bro. I got a bomb dropping tonight. When is this going up? Tonight?
It's going up at 4:00 in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, well, guys, tune into the Sneider tonight because I got a hot scoop.
There you go. Bing, bang, boom. Awesome, Jeff. Well, good show, brother man. Great to see you. Where do they subscribe to the Sneider? Is it Sneider.com? Is that where it is?
Sneider.com. Hit me up if you need a discount. The password this week is Batman.
There you go. And that's where you can follow me at The Rocha Says, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky Threads, all that. Subscribe to the channel, y'all. This is a soft opening of a second show. They're going to be pre-recorded shows. We'll talk 2 or 3 subjects, or maybe one subject, man, all it is. But that's about our approaches. Let us know what you think. Let us know some suggestions you might have for ideas for us to talk about down in the comment section. The evergreen topics, what have you. Jeff and I are up for all of it as we're exploring this. So let us know. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the Hot Mic. Peace. Until then.